Hello! Howdy! Hi, everybody. Sam Goodman. Really fucking scary stories. Thank you for joining us again today. If you haven't already subscribed to this podcast, if you haven't already shared it with those other paranormal true crime lovers within your life, or those folks that are just generally a fan of the creepy, the weird, the macabre, do me a favor, do that. Cruise on over to YouTube. Find me on YouTube, Sam Goodman. I'll link it down below. All that kind of sort of stuff. Thank you for joining us. I can't believe that we're already on episode 3 of season 4. I can't believe that we're on freaking season 4. That blows my mind. And what blows my mind even more is the amount of love and support that we've been getting from you on the podcast. It's just cool. And the amount of emails and just DMs and just input and reviews and likes and stars and all that kind of sort of stuff is cool. I just thank you. I truly and sincerely thank you for all of your support so far. It means the world to me. Get into contact, rfsspod at gmail.com, rfsspod@gmail.com. Share with me your stories of true crime, creepy, macabre, weird things, the paranormal. I would love to hear from you. On today's episode, which we call a Slice for a Slice, kind of tongue-in-cheek, we're going to be talking about something from my area, literally the place where I grew up, in Tazewell County, Virginia, to be specific, the unincorporated community of Claypool Hill, Virginia, about 5 minutes from my childhood home, about 5 minutes, literally 5-minute drive to this place, a restaurant. It's a pizza place, that, I get pizza at when I go home, that I've got pizza at all growing up. And it's the Pizza Plus Murders. On the morning of March 30th, 2009, a Pizza Plus employee in Tazewell County, Virginia, again Claypool Hill, opened the store to find the remains of owners 52-year-old Harvey Looney and 48-year-old Valerie Looney. Harvey's throat had been slashed outside the restaurant's back door, while Valerie had been killed inside the kitchen. Her throat had also been cut, and she had been hit on the head with what detectives later determined to be a fire extinguisher. According to the Tazewell County Sheriff's Office, they reported that her whole head had almost been cut off. Bad. Like really, 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 really bad. And to make this story, it's already tragic. It's already a super sad story. But to make it that much more tragic, the day the Loonies were discovered would have been their 29th wedding anniversary. Super, super sad. When detectives arrived at the crime scene, they noticed that the bloodied fire extinguisher had been placed back in its holder. This led them to believe that the perpetrator was familiar with the restaurant or possibly a former or current Pizza Plus employee. Though DNA evidence was collected from the fire extinguisher, the results were inconclusive. Investigators then interviewed the couple's only son, Christopher Looney, who lived with his parents and had previously worked at Pizza Plus. When asked why he was not alarmed when he woke up the morning of the 30th and realized his parents had not returned home after closing up the restaurant, I'm pulling from this that it sounds like Christopher lived with his parents. So if they had not came home and he woke up and realized that, they had not come home, they had not arrived home, they'd been gone all night, it seems like he would have been a little bit alarmed. I know if I was in that situation, it would have definitely alarmed me. I would have been like, okay, something's wrong. I would at least start making phone calls. Christopher went on to explain to the investigators that Harvey had mentioned their anniversary was coming up, and that, here's his quote here, they were probably going somewhere. Christopher said he didn't know of anyone that would harm his parents, and the investigation hit a wall. It hit a dead end. 4 months later, detectives discovered the Loonies had a life insurance policy. And good old Christopher had a large sum of money coming in from the death of his parents. Christopher was brought in for an additional interview, and he denied knowing anything about the murders, though investigators suspected he had the motive. This was the only motive they had, from what I understand, that they had discovered at this point. But they had no physical evidence to tie him to those crimes. So Christopher was released from the interrogation, and for the next 4 years, the case went cold. So just, again, back at a dead end, at a brick wall. During this time, detectives were unable to generate any new leads, and they decided to try and interview Chris again to get at the truth. So they were really honing in on Christopher at this point, going, he's got motive, the large sum of life insurance, right, the money, and, you know, that's a pretty good chunk. From what I'm looking at here, it looks like it was about $240,000. That's a pretty significant amount of money. But before interviewing Christopher, they contacted a cold case homicide interview expert, a senior investigator, basically like a consulting firm that's like focuses on cold cases and interrogations. Using this technique, which they labeled as the Reed technique, there's something for you to Google, a 3-part interview and process that includes fact analysis, behavior analysis, and then interview. And then they use the Reed 9 steps of interrogation. So I don't know. I don't have all those in my notes. If that's something that super duper interests you when you're trying to do your interrogations, definitely go check that out. But they started the interrogation by telling Christopher they had interviewed various people about the case and deduced, I like that word, deduced that there's no doubt, Christopher, that you caused the death of your parents. In shock, Christopher ultimately broke down and admitted that the murders were his quote, just an accident. I don't know, decapitation, near decapitation, bludgeoning with a fire extinguisher, putting said fire extinguisher back. I'm not a detective, but that does not seem like just an accident to me. He told detectives that he went to Pizza Plus around 10:30 p.m. on the 29th. He got in arguments with his parents about money. Back to motive right there. Money is really, that's at the top of the list of motives, right? Christopher detailed how he slit his mother's throat before chasing his father out of the restaurant, grabbing him from behind and choking him. He then went back inside and bludgeoned his mother with the fire extinguisher to make sure she, his quote, was not moving. Christopher said he replaced the fire extinguisher and then cut his father's throat before leaving the crime scene. And all of that horrific pain and trauma, obviously to the victims, but to the second victims of that, to the family members, to the farther removed victims of that, to the community, to the friends, all of that for, I'm going to say a measly $240,000. This is why so many of these true crime cases, especially the ones that relate to money, just blow my mind. It's just fucking money. They're your parents, dude. Like, it blows my mind. It absolutely blows my mind. Christopher was ultimately charged with the capital murders and robberies of Harvey and Valerie Looney, to which he pleaded no contest, and was ultimately sentenced to life in prison. And so what's really weird, there's a little bit of a personal connection to this episode. I was still living back east. I was still in Virginia at this time, kind of in and out. I had a job that took me all over the country, and so I would be gone and come back and be gone and come back. That's kind of what I did. I traveled, kind of road dogging it, doing work all across the country. But I was typically there, during different parts of the year. And I was there during this time. I actually went to like a community thing that was going on near this area. I remember hearing all the sirens, seeing all the police peel out of this kind of area. I remember going down, on my way home, driving past, I drove past this crime scene, when this happened. I can still kind of see that kind of in my mind's eye. So again, this was 5 minutes, maybe a 5-minute drive from my childhood home. Last time I went back to visit Virginia. And so I live in Phoenix, Arizona now. Most of you probably know that if you're listening to the podcast. But so when I do go back, I still go to this pizza place because it's amazing. It's great. It's a really great pizza spot with a really, really sad true crime story that's attached to it. Murder is always scary. It always falls in the really fucking scary list. violent murders even more so. But when you're talking son murdering parents for a measly $240,000 life insurance payout, yeah, it's sad. It's sad and tragic, but it's also a really fucking scary story. Have you had a really fucking scary experience? Have you seen a ghost? Have you been on a macabre adventure? Would you like to share it on air? Would you like for us to tell that story? Or you just have something horrid that you would like for us to talk about? Send us an email at rfsspod. That's rfsspod at gmail.com. Make sure that you subscribe. New episodes come out every single Friday. We look forward to continuing this creepy, crawly, morbid, macabre, and grotesque adventure with you, the listener. We love you, and we will see you soon. Thank you for joining us today on our trip into the dark. We hope that you join us again next week for all things horror, all things macabre, all things grotesque, here on Really Fucking Scary Stories.